From our Washington, D.C. studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar pushes back against President Donald Trump's new attacks. This and more on today's show. Stay tuned. President Donald Trump has declared all documents signed with an Autopen during former President Joe Biden's administration invalid. He made the announcement on Truth Social. Trump said the move covers pardons, commutations, and a wide range of presidential papers. He insists they now carry no legal effect. Trump says any proclamations, executive orders, or contracts signed with what he called the unauthorized Autopen are now null and void. He has also warned people who received pardons under Biden's to consider them canceled. An Autopen is a mechanical device that reproduces a person's signature with high precision. Presidents from both parties have used it for decades to handle routine paperwork, especially when traveling. Its use has never been considered improper or illegal. Trump's declaration could trigger legal challenges over the status of affected documents and people relying on them. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has accused Minnesota Governor Tim Walz of enabling large-scale visa fraud. During a televised cabinet meeting with President Donald Trump, Noem said half of Minnesota's visa programs are fraudulent. She claims that migrants used fake marriages and false identities to enter the United States. Noem also alleges that they took hundreds of billions of dollars from taxpayers. No evidence was provided. Her comments came as Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, is expected to launch a major operation this week in Minneapolis and St. Paul, focusing on undocumented Somali migrants, according to New York Times reports. Trump has escalated his rhetoric, blaming Somalis for fraud and saying he does not want them in the United States. Walz did not comment directly in response to Noem's claims, but his office noted that states do not issue visas. The governor later said on X that real crime should be investigated, but warned that broad raids targeting immigrants are political theater. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar pushed back against President Donald Trump's new attacks. She says the rumors about her deportation are false and that she's not going anywhere. Omar called Trump's obsession with her, quote unquote, creepy, and said she will probably be here longer than Trump. She also urged him to get the help he desperately needs. Her remarks followed another round of insults from Trump, who continued targeting Somali immigrants and revived the long debunked rumor that she married her so-called brother. During a cabinet meeting on Tuesday, Trump called Somali immigrants garbage and used the same word for Representative Omar. He claimed they do nothing but complain and suggested without evidence that Omar would be removed from the country. Omar is a naturalized U.S. citizen. She arrived in 1995 and became an American citizen at the age of 17. Trump's claim that Omar married her brother has circulated since 2016 and has been proven false. Fact-checking website Snopes found no evidence that Omar's former husband, Ahmed Noor Saeed Elmi, was related to her. Snopes pressed the blogger who first spread the allegation, but he could not verify it. Elmi was a British citizen who was legal in the United Kingdom and did not need a marriage to enter the United States. He later returned to the UK. Omar then married Ahmed Hirsi in 2018. They shared 3 children and co-parent after their divorce. She married entrepreneur and political consultant Tim Minett in 2020. Omar was born in Somalia and lived in a Kenyan refugee camp before resettling in the United States.
I mean, our president's obsession with me and the Somali community really is creepy and healthy. And we are not, and I am not, someone to be intimidated, and we are not going to be scapegoated. We are here to stay.
An Afghan man is facing federal charges in Texas for threatening to build a bomb and carry out a suicide attack. The Justice Department says that 30-year-old Mohammed Dawood Al-Akose posted a video on TikTok, X, and Facebook on November the 23rd. Officials say he praised the Taliban and threatened to attack Americans. The FBI says public tips helped agents track him down before any violence. Attorney General Pamela Bondi claims Al-Akose entered the country during the Biden administration and allegedly said he came to kill Americans. If convicted, he faces up to 5 years in prison for making a threatening interstate communication. His arrest comes days after another Afghan national, Rahmanullah Lakanawal, was charged with murdering a National Guard member near the White House. Lakanawal had arrived in the U.S. through a resettlement program after serving in a CIA-backed force in Afghanistan. President Donald Trump responded by saying asylum decisions will be paused, quote, for a long time. Pope Leo XIV has criticized rising anti-Muslim rhetoric in Europe and the United States. He spoke to reporters on his flight home after visiting Turkey and Lebanon, his first trip abroad since becoming Pope in May. The Pope says hostilities towards Muslims is often pushed by anti-migrant activists who try to keep out people from other countries and faiths. He held up Lebanon's cooperation between Christians and Muslims as an example for the West, calling them reminders that dialogue and friendship are possible. The Catholic leader also urged people to be less fearful and to resist nationalist politics. He repeated his call to what he described as the inhumane treatment of migrants under President Donald Trump.
I know that in Europe there are many times fears that are present but oftentimes generated by people who are against immigration and trying to keep out people who may be from another country, another religion, another race. And in that sense, I would say that we all need to work together. One of the values of this trip is precisely to raise the world's attention to the possibility that dialogue and friendship between Muslims and Christians is possible.
A German court has ruled that a Muslim woman cannot serve as a judge or prosecutor if she wears a hijab. Details coming up next. A German court ruled that a Muslim woman cannot serve as a judge or prosecutor if she wears hijab or religious headscarf in court. The administrative court in the state of Hesse upheld the authorities' decision to reject her application. Officials say that the headscarf conflicts with state neutrality and claim that it could affect public trust in the judicial impartiality. During her interview, the applicant was asked whether she would remove her headscarf in court. She said she would not. The court acknowledged her religious freedom, but said it is outweighed by constitutional obligation of neutrality. A similar case in the state of Lower Saxony barred a woman from serving as a lay judge while wearing a headscarf. Rights advocates say these rulings discriminate against Muslim women and weaponize the idea of neutrality. They warn that the decision create new barriers for Muslim women who want to enter the legal profession or public service. Iran is facing one of its worst droughts in decades, with its reservoirs nearly empty. Its capital, Tehran, is edging towards what officials call day zero. That is the point when the city's taps stop running and residents must collect limited rations from distribution points. President Masoud Pezeshkian says moving the capital is now a necessity, not a choice. Tehran's crisis has been years in the making. The city of 15 million has sprawled beyond its limits. Overpumping, dam building, and water-intensive farming has pushed Iran into what experts call water bankruptcy. This fall has been the hottest and driest since 1979. Groundwater is collapsing and snowfall is shrinking. Emergency transfers from distant dams offer little relief. Pezeshkian has suggested shifting key institutions to the Makran coast, but experts say that would not cut demand enough. Experts warn that only deep conservation and long-term reforms can pull Iran back from disaster. The United Nations General Assembly has approved a new resolution on the peaceful settlement of the Palestine question. The vote showed strong support, with 151 countries backing the text. 11 voted against it. 11 abstained. The resolution calls for an end to Israel's occupation that began in 1967. It also reaffirms the UN's role in pursuing a two-state solution and demands that Israel stop settlement expansion and respects international law. The draft was introduced by Djibouti, Jordan, Mauritania, Qatar, Senegal, and Palestine. It urges all sides to return to direct negotiation and asks states not to recognize any border changes imposed by force. The resolution highlights the worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza and the West Bank. Countries are urged to increase support for civilians facing shortages of food, water, and medical supplies. Israel continues to violate the ceasefire with Hamas, pressuring Palestinians to leave Gaza. Israeli soldiers shot dead 2 Palestinians on Wednesday in the Zaytun neighborhood. A doctor at Baptist Hospital told Al Jazeera the killings happened outside the so-called Yellow Line, an area meant to stay safe under the ceasefire, which went into effect on October the 10th. Hospitals received 5 bodies in 48 hours, along with 13 wounded. Since the start of the ceasefire, Israel has killed at least 360 Palestinians and wounded more than 922. During this period, 617 bodies were recovered. Palestinian authorities also report harsh mistreatment of detainees in Israeli prisons. Prisoners describe hunger, lack of clothing, widespread scabies, and chaotic medical neglect, as well as sexual violence. The number of people in Gaza living with life-changing injuries has climbed to about 42,000. Israel now says it will open Rafah only for Palestinians who wish to leave, fueling fears of forced depopulation of Gaza. Forcible transfer is a crime under international law. Israel's genocide in Gaza has killed at least 70,000 Palestinians and wounded 999 since October 2023. African leaders are stepping up calls for colonial-era crimes to be formally recognized and addressed through reparations. At a conference in Algeria's capital, Algiers, diplomats backed an African Union plan to define colonization as a crime against humanity. Algeria's Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf said African nations still pay a heavy price for exclusion and marginalization rooted in colonial rule. He said restitution must be treated as a legal right, not as a favor. Leaders highlighted Europe's profiting from Africa's resources taken through forced labor and violence. The economic losses are estimated in the trillions. Countries also renewed demands for looted artifacts still kept in European museums. Attaf said Algeria's own history under French occupation, marked by torture, disappearances, and mass killings, shows why global accountability is essential. Bitcoin surged more than 6% on Tuesday after weeks of heavy selling. The world's largest cryptocurrency climbed above $91,000. It had fallen below $90,000 last month for the first time since April. The wider crypto market also recovered. CoinMarketCap says global market value rose more than 6% in the past day to just over $3 trillion. Bitcoin's own market cap moved up to $1.8 trillion. Ethereum gained nearly 9% and traded close to $2,970. The rebound follows a steep November drop. Bitcoin has lost around 30% since its October record. Almost $19 billion in leveraged bets were wiped out during the sell-off. Analysts say hopes of a Federal Reserve rate cut in December, along with easing inflation signals, help lift sentiment. A Canadian man is regaining movement and speech after using a device that sends gentle electrical pulses through the tongue. The PONS, or Portable Neuromodulation Stimulator, is a small mouthpiece linked to a collar worn around the neck. It delivers tiny signals to the brain to help rebuild neural pathways and make physical and speech therapy more effective. Mark Foster fell from a ladder and later suffered a stroke linked to a pre-existing cavernoma. Surgery erased his earlier recovery. He lost movement on the right side and struggled with speech. After starting PONS therapy, he made more progress in 6 months than he had in 4 years of standard rehab. He says it has boosted both his mobility and his confidence. The device was first developed for multiple sclerosis. It recently completed a major clinical trial showing better balance and walking in stroke patients. Several U.S. insurers now cover it despite its high cost. That's all from our Washington, D.C. studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We're a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage on YouTube. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum.